Well, as the weekend has begun, I'm going to decide to do this a very simple one for all of you. Since if any of you guys are big fans of the Japanese wrestling scene, well, you're just in luck. I'm actually going to be doing that only for today with just two reviews. The first one, as you know, this past Friday, we have Stardom with their much recent event that took place at Yamaguchi, which is the triumphant return of Mayu Iwatani. But this one had a special main event. Mayu teams up with former Star members Tam Nakano, who is the current leader of Cosmic Angels, and the most recent member kicked out of Odo Tai, Starlight Kid. They faces against EXV, and this is going to be a very interesting match. But we also have a number one contendership for the Wonder of Stardom Championship, aka the white belt, between God's Eye Amisuri and the Cosmic Fairy Natsupoi. And then, of course, we move on with day two of New Japan Pro Wrestling with Wrestling Dontaku. This one has various title matches. We have, of course, the IWGP Tag Team titles defended, the Never Openweight title, the Global title, and the World Heavyweight title. So we got tons of things that are happening. And then, of course, we have some news updates to give you guys on what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. We're going to have, of course, the promotions on upcoming events, who's booked, what matches are set, developments that are happening in the world of pro wrestling that we need to talk about, and of course, updating on MARIGOLD's very first show on May 20th. As you know, we're getting closer and closer. We are in the month of May. We'll be talking about it, and this one gives us the full card on what matches we're going to be seeing. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also do more news updates. If I'm unable to put it on this episode, I can put it on a separate video by itself. We also do real timing news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also do the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool things as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on a like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions have set aside, I believe it's time to get this show rock and roll right now. So let's begin with our very first review, and this is from Stardom's recent event on May 3rd in Yamaguchi as we continue with the Golden Week Fight Tour. And as you know, Yamaguchi is the hometown of the icon Mayu Iwatani. Okay, Stardom in Yamaguchi, the Golden Week Fight Tour. This is a very interesting week we always have, seeing them wrestling during that. However, as I mentioned, this is the triumphant return of Mayu Iwatani, who is in the main event, and we'll get to that in a bit. Now, our first match, we have Rana Yagami The rookie from God's Eye, she faces against, of course, this year's winner of the Cinderella tournament, Hanan. Now, of course, this is one of those matches you would seem that Hana will have a much easier match since she's facing Rookie. Now, we know that Yagami has developed great striking capabilities, but that wasn't enough to put Hanan down because she applied the Hanan special, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, good night, Yagami. Just like that. Now, our next match, we have another singles actions. We have, of course, Cosmic Angel rookie Sayaka Kurata taking on, of course, one half of the New Blood Tag Team Champions, Saya Ida. Now, of course, we all know Saya Ida, those who know her very well. She's a very strong, small individual, so don't let the size fool you. But however, as always, when it comes to Kurata, you know that she's going to pull off a spear, and luckily she did. And of course, Ida mentioned this during her post match comments that that was something, and of course it is. But unfortunately, Saya Ida put down Kurara with a running lariat, and just like that, it was over. So, good night, Kurara. Next up, we had a very interesting 6-woman tag match. We have the rookie Rian, who is currently unaffiliated with any faction. She teams up with Waka Tsukiyama and Xena. They faces against the members of God's Eye, consistent of Konami, Saki Kashima, and Shuri. Now, those who've been aware a week ago, we did but on the 29th and the 30th of April, Kashima was unavailable due to an injury that she obtained. There was a clip that showed that she wanted Suri to carry her because she had ankle problems. Now, a part of me would like to think, is this another trick of her that she's pulling up her sleeve to not be in a match? Well, it doesn't seem like she's pulling it off, but she's looking for ways to, how do I say, not to fight, but at the same time try to use it as an excuse. And of course, you would think that it would help. It kind of did. But however, there was a moment where we did see Shuri use her as a weapon again. But it was, of course, an armbar by Shuri onto Rian to pick up the win. So it was 1-2, just like that. Rian had no other choice but to tap. However, during a post-match comments, it seems like Waka and Xena are trying to tell her that she'd probably be a good fit with her in EXV. Now, we don't know yet if that's what her goal is. Now, as you know, she's the only current rookie who hasn't been, of course, been decided where she's going to go. I wouldn't be surprised if she does choose Queen's Quest because, they don't have a rookie. The last one they had was Amasaki, but she already's been with Queen Quest for almost 2 years or so. But we'll see. Now, our next match, we have, of course, Star members Momokoko, Koguma, and Azuki taking on Miyu Amasaki, who is from Queen's Quest. She teams up with the goddesses of Stardom Tag Champions, Crazy Star, Meisira, and Suzuki. So you would think that this is going to be a very interesting match. Now, we do know that Azuki and Koguma were asking for another opportunity when they were unsuccessful. Well, they weren't the ones that lost at the 4-way match that took place at the All-Star Queendom, so they demanded another opportunity, which they'll get soon enough. But however, it was unsurprisingly Koguma who picked up the win by pinning Zuzu. This was a upset, to be honest with you. You wouldn't expect this from Koguma, but she was able to pull it off, and I think Zuzu was a bit of shock that that happened, but basically, just like that, it was over. Now, our next match, we have Oedo Tai members consisting of Tekla, Momo Watanabe, and Natsuko Tora taking on Queen's Quest, consistent of Lady C, Azumi, and Saya Kamitani. Now, and of course, we have Aya Sakura, Yuna Mizumori, and Sarinoi as well. This is a trios 3-way match. We do have, so this is a very tough match to watch. However, as you know, Oedo Tai with Tekla now joining their declared war against anybody, especially those who have the cutie, the idol culture in in the Aspis, but however, it was Tekla once again who picked up the win with her move against Sakura. Unfortunately, that's how it ended. Now, before we proceed to our next match, they did show a bit of a clip of the upcoming biopic film based on Mayu Iwatani, the runaway wrestler. There's a scene, of course, where you see Mayu. I don't know if it's 100% accuracy from, you know how movie people are. They don't put a lot of things 100% accuracy. But however, there was a scene where you can see her running away. She got hit by a car or something. I don't know, but it was really interesting how that turned out. But hopefully we get a chance to see it. I think I'm kind of curious how it is, but we do see, of course, Momo Kogo, who portrays Fuka, who trained Mayu, and that's something I'm looking forward to see how she portrays her. But that was pretty much it. I mean, you can see it once you see the show, but yes, just this clip. Now let's move on with our next match. This is the semi-main event. Is a number one contendership for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. Now, after Sayuri Inouye successfully defended her belt against Hanan, who is the winner of the Cinderella tournament, Natsupoi comes out and, of course, declared herself as the next challenger. However, Ami Sourei decided to declare herself as the next challenger, which led, of course, to a number one contendership. And I think many fans were hoping that Natsupoi be the one to challenge Sayuri Inouye, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. I mean, Ami Sourei is a very strong individual, bigger and stronger than Natsupoi. Natsupoi can rely her speed, but we have seen the kind of strength Natsupoi has done over the years. And you would think that would have been enough. It wasn't. It was, of course, like a thunderbolt by Ami Sourei to pick up the win. A very huge disappointment for Natsupoi, but at the same time, Sourei, I mean, Ami Sourei was gloating the fact that she stopped Natsupoi for having the dream match to have against Sayuri Inouye. However, I hope Sayuri Inouye retains the belt. But there was a clip that they showed by Starlight Kid who saw Natsupoi, who was very disappointing and depressed that she lost. And of course, she went there to cheer her up, telling her they need to focus on their upcoming event together at the All Together event. And she did ask her if she can teach her how to dance the Kozen dance, the Cosmic Angel dance, which was very unusual, but I thought it was very interesting. So we'll see what happens until then. Now, our main event, we have EXV consistent of Hanako, Mina Shirakawa, and Maika taking on, for the first time ever in a couple of years, Starlight Kid, Tam Nakano, and Mayu Iwatani teaming up. Now, this whole thing happened after this past, on the 29th of April, when they were in Fukuyama. Starlight Kid and Tam were being attacked by Odo Tai, and Mayu showed up out of nowhere and made this match happen. Now, their opponents had no significant reasons. Of course, this was just something they wanted to throw in together, since since the three of them were, as you know, Tam and Starlight Kid were members of Stars. However, we all know what happened. I will be talking about Starlight Kid in the upcoming DWZ discussion, talking about her and calling it what's next for Starlight Kid. But nonetheless, the match was pretty good. It showed they can still work together despite that they're not together at all as members of Stars. But it was Mayu Iwatani that picked up the win with the moonsault onto Hanako. But however, during the post-match comment, deep down, Mayu says that the door is always open for Starlight Kid. But I think, in my personal opinion, from my observation, I feel that Mayu is being a bit naive to herself and hoping that Starlight Kid would rejoin, because Tam has been telling her that Starlight Kid has a right to choose her own path. Even if she doesn't choose Cosmic Angels, it's her choice. And I'll be talking about that too on the discussion video. So we'll see what happens until then. But for right now, we are officially done with Stardom and move on with our next review, and that is, of course, New Japan Pro Wrestling with Day 2 Wrestling Dontaku. Okay, New Japan Pro Wrestling with day 2 of Wrestling Dontaku. Now, for the record, I did not see day 1. I apologize because I was originally thought I was able to see it, but I don't have the New Japan on demand. I watch it at other locations, so that's pretty much what I've been doing. But however, uh, I did know what happened in this match. We do have a brand new IWGP World Television Champion, and so on and so on. Of course, Tanahashi was able to retain the belt against Tanahashi, and then later David Finlay attacked him, who was believing that he's the rightful owner of that belt. But we'll see what happens. That will be part of this particular review. Now, our first match is part of the pre-show Frontier Zone. We have Jet Li and Naoki Sakurajima taking on, of course, Katsuya Murashima and Togi Makabe. Now, some of you may think that this is going to land to the outsiders because you got Murashima, who is the rookie, and they're the ones who's supposed to lose their match. However, that wasn't the case because it was the King Kong knee by Togi Makabe onto Jet, and just like that, it was completely over. 1, 2, 3, you're done. Now, our next match involving the pre-show, we do have Shota Kato. He teams up with Tiger Mask to take on TMDK's current New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Team Champions, Shane Haste and Viking Nichols of TMDK. So you would think that this is going to be a very interesting match. It kind of did, even though it was a non-title match, but it was a drop bomb onto Kato and pinned by Nichols, allowing for TMDK to pick up the win. Now, let's begin with our main card matches. We have the United Empire, consistent of Francisco Akira and Great Khan, taking on just 5 guy members, Doiki and Yuya Uemura. Now, don't forget, Uemura was the one who defeated Khan for the for a shot of the KOPW Championship, which, of course, you probably would think it was going to be interesting. It kind of did, but however, this also led to a warm-up between both Francisco Akira and Doiki, since both of them will be involved in the same block of the Best of the Super Juniors. But it was, of course, Francisco Akira who pinned Doiki, which was surprising. The obvious question does tell, will lightning strike twice for Doiki if they run into each other at the Best of the Super Juniors? I don't know. We'll just wait and see. Now, our next match, we have TMDK. We have TMDK members Kosta Fujita and Zack Sabre Jr. taking on the United Empire's Cal Newman and Jeff Cobb. Now, don't forget, Jeff Cobb did defeat Zack Sabre Jr. the day before for the New Japan IWGP World Television title. But however, as you know, Zack Sabre Jr., he will never forget that, but he took his frustration out on Newman when he applied the Zack driver, and just like that, it was completely over. Now, our next match, we have Shota Umino, El Desperado, and the members of GOD, El Fantasma and Hikuleo, taking on those scumbags, the House of Torture, of course, Kanemaru, Sho, Yujiro, and Evil. Of course, these guys, as always, they're always up to no effing good, because these guys like to cheat. They claim they are the good guys. BS, they're not the good guys. They're just a bunch of thugs who cry too much because they want what they can't have. But of course, you would think that their tricks would have been liable. But luckily, it was Shota Umino who showed him who's boss when he took out Yujiro. First, it was, of course, the Ignition, then the Blaze Blazer, and then, of course, the Death Rider, and just like that, it was over. However, as soon as the match was over, as you know, Shota Umino does have a very strong bond with Hikuleo and El Fantasma. They try to grab Despy to be involved. They give the big man a high five, but I thought it was really funny. I thought it was great. I loved it. Now, our next match, we have, fortunately, we were supposed to have Sonata involved in this match, but due to the circumstances, of his illness at the moment, Taka Michinoku stepped up. He teams up with Taichi, two former members of Suzuki-gun. They face against two-thirds of the um, never openweight six-man tag team champions, Ultimate Bootleg and Hiroshi Tanahashi. Now, you would think that because of this match, Taichi would have an opportunity to challenge for the, of course, the tag team that never openweight six-man tag team titles. It would have been a great moment for him and just five guys to step up their game. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case because it was Tanahashi with the high five flow onto Taka, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, our next match, we have the Bullet Club, consistent of Geto, Taichi Shimori, and the current IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, Drilla Maloney and Clark Connors, taking on LIJ's Bushi, Hiromu, Shingo, and Naito. Now, of course, we were going to see some interesting moments in this one, not to mention it was Naito who got a little bit of payback for what happened the last time. If you guys remember, it was the Maloney who picked up the win onto Naito, all thanks to the help of Jake Lee. But now Naito got his retribution, and just like that, it was completely over. Now, our next match, this is part of the IWGP Tag Team titles. Now, as you know, Bushiman beat Bullet Club members Kenta and Chase Owens for these belts, and they demanded back. And of course, they got away with it thanks to Kenta's distraction, allowing for Chase Owens to low blow Goto, and then later the jackknife on him, becoming the brand new tag team champions. However, it appears that more people showed up that want to have a shot at him. We did see, of course, GOD, TMDK, and a few others. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup to see. Now, our next match is the Never Openweight Championship. Now, Gabe Kidd, who's been acting like a crybaby, the entire time, saying that the Never Openweight title is the real prestige belt. And of course, he said that he's going to take it off from Shingo Takagi. Well, Shingo did not waver. He did not give up. He knows what was at stake, but at the same time, he wants to show what this title means a lot, not only to him, but for those who actually held it. And that's exactly what he did when he put the last of the dragon, and just like that, it was over. Now, our next match, we have the IWGP Global Championship. We have the world's biggest crybaby, David Finlay, who demanded this match to happen. And of course, Nick Menet, after 24 hours it happened, it just did. And of course, it was a very brutal tactical match. No help coming from Bullet Club War Dogs, but it was able to succeed. But it was the overkill by, of course, by David Finlay that allowed him to regain this belt and become two-time IWGP Global Champion. So we'll see what happens until then. Excuse me. Now, our next match is the main event, the IWGP World Heavyweight title. Ren Narita and Jon Moxley. But of course, before the bell ring, freaking House of Torture, Sho and Kanemaru attack Moxley. They beat them down. Now, Shota Umino showed up, the helping hand, but they decided to handcuff him, to leave him there, because they are trying to ensure. Now, Narita goes out grinning. He says, "Hey, loser, it's my belt. I'm going to take it off for you." Well, Despy warned him, don't underestimate Mox. Mox even said, it doesn't matter how many guys they have. And he wasn't joking. But of course, Kanemaru and Sho keep getting themselves involved, even after the bell rings. But luckily, Despy took matters in his own hands and took out those jerk monkeys, got rid of them. Now, however, a part of me thought, even if Despy did get rid of these jerk monkeys with Kanemaru and Sho, that also lead to another problem. That problem, of course, is effing Evil and Dick. Yes. I knew those two clowns were up to no good to ensure that Moxley wins the belt But the real difference maker was Despy. Despy was not officially involved when those two clowns showed up. It was Shota who showed up. Apparently, Despy brought some bolt cutters and found Shota and helped them to get unhandcuffed, and he was the real difference maker. And then, of course, it was Moxley with Death Rider onto Ren Narita. Uno, dos, tres. Good night, Narita. You don't deserve. So wipe that smug off your face, you dummy. But of course, after the match, we did see Evil looking right straight into Jon Moxley. I think Evil is disgusted. He acts like the good guy. I mean, he's a piece of garbage acting as a good guy. And he can't stand the fact Moxley has the title. Now, we all know Evil, he's a scumbag. We all know he will do anything in his power to get the belt back, to get that belt. However, he has two people ahead of him, Takeshita and, of course, Umino. But we all know where this is going. So, I wouldn't be surprised if down the line, Evil, if somehow Moxley did survive against both Takeshita and Umino, Evil will probably get in line and declare himself as the next challenger. But I wouldn't be surprised if that scumbag once again did what he did with Sonata, stealing his belt, claiming, oh, Sonata forfeit, it's the right call. No, he stole it because he can't stand it. He thinks that he's the real champion. Everybody knows that in the books, you are not the winner. But we'll see. But Moxley, I'm sure he's going to kick his ass. Trust me. So, we'll see what happens until then. But for right now, we are done with all the reviews. Let's move on with our news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So let's begin with our promotions. Now, as you know, Wrestling Revolver has announced for their upcoming event for this month of the 17th of May for another Friday. Now, as you know, I mentioned this on the last episode in the news updates. Ethan Page has been announced to appear in Prestige Wrestling. Well, it's just been announced Ethan Page will be appearing at Wrestling Revolver, which is good. Now, we don't know who will be his opponent, but I can't wait to see it. Excuse me. West Coast Pro for the Coast, that will happen on the 18th of May. We do have Ishmael Vaughn. He will be in action to take on Aaron Solo. Yeah, the same Aaron Solo from AEW at this point. And then, of course, West Coast Pro with their collaboration with Oasis Pro for the Dennis Richmond Invitational on the 29th of June. They just announced entry number 3 and number 4. For entry number 3, I just mentioned his name just recently. Ishmael Vaughn is now in the 3rd spot. And as for entrance number 4, we have Zara Sakir. So basically, those are the two recent entries. Now, I think we're done with this portion with the promotional updates. Let's talk about certain developments that we are talking about. As you may or may not heard, we've been seeing some releases going on in WWE. Amongst the new releases just been recently been announced by Wrestling Observer, Glabe Stevenson has been announced, been released from WWE. I have to say, they haven't done anything for him. I'm not putting him at fault. I feel WWE just dropped the ball on what they were going to do to him, but that's how it led. But yeah. Anyway, Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling talent Yuki Kamifuku, if you guys have been heard, she has participated in the promotion in Vietnam Pro Wrestling. They just had their first ever tournament to crown the first ever VPW Women's Champion, and of course Yuki Kamifuku is now the first ever champion for this promotion. However, she is now double champion of 2 Asian companies. The first one, as you know, she won the Queen of Asia Championship from Singapore Pro Wrestling, and now the VPW Women's Championship. So that's pretty good. Speaking of international promotions, we do have Thailand promotions set up. They just recently announced that 30 plus people appeared in their school. I have to say that is a good thing. I would say that even if setup is the only promotion in Thailand, I would say this is a good thing for them to expand a little bit. I'm sure one day we will see them in arenas, but only time will tell. Now, Reality of Wrestling has announced for their upcoming event, No Limits, that will take place on May 11th. They just announced this recent person who was just recently released from the NXT brand, Emma Diaz. As you know, she was recently been released. It's interesting that now she's been mentioned, so we'll see what's going to happen from here on out. Now, an interesting thing was posted out. Someone talked to Miyu Amasaki about her homestead in England. Now, keep in mind she doesn't speak very English, but she did talk about that. Um, Let me pull that up for all of you. This is what she had to say. When I was in high school, I did a 1 month homestay in the town called Lewis in the southern East Sussex region as a part of a school program, but the only thing I had for dinner was macaroni salad every day. I was still fine with that, although I can't speak English that well. It seems that ha- that I had the strength to survive on macaroni salad for a month. She just laughed right there. Yeah, so basically she's been there for a month. No, I don't blame her. But yeah, I mean, especially for someone like her who can't speak English, at least she was okay. Now, recently, as you know, Drew Gulak was amongst the most recent NXT um, releases. However, apparently certain things have been coming around. Triple H was asked to comment about Drew Gulak. Um, Apparently they can't speak about that at all. There was more questions, but apparently more things has coming around about that. Now Cody Rhodes made a little interesting talk about Drew Gulak, and this is what he had to say. This happened 7 years ago, from what he recalls. There is a wrestler by the name of Drew Gulak. I'm not going to go ahead and tell you I think he sucks. He does have a grizzled old vet routine. He doesn't done anything or made any money anywhere, and he shouldn't be doing that routine. He looked at me from his table and frustrated and jealousy because there were people in line at my table. Hell, they might have been in line just for the pizza, say to me. So that you needed to get over. And he walked away in a total huff temper tantrum. Since then, the guy is on my list. 100% I regularly text Ethan Page and just to tell him how much I think Drew sucks. So it appears that Drew Gulak has an attitude problem. And all this and that. However, more information has risen about him. This is what was said upon about him. Several NXT talent made claims that Drew Gulak was a bully who would often target injuries during matches with talent that were recovering from minor injuries at the same time. One talent claimed that during a match with Gulak, he purposely dislocated his previous dislocated finger, while another claimed that Gulak would intimidate talent into not reporting the incident. There was an incident where during an NXT taping last year where Gulag verbally uh, reprimanded by Shawn Michaels and NXT coaches for intentionally spiking an opponent during a match. One NXT talent who worked with Gulag noted that he was odd in the sense that he often tests talent to see if they would react to his bullying. I have to say, Drew Gulag, my opinion, he shouldn't be wrestling at all, because if he was doing what they're saying he did, it would make sense. And I mean, we cannot deny the man's talent, but if he is a bully, I have to say get rid of him. I really hate bully guys. I really do. They're a bunch of scumbags that don't deserve anything in life. That's how I would see it. Now, Rossy Ogawa, once again, as you know, recently, his new promotion, more specifically Julia, Utami Ayashida, and of course, Mirai and Mai Sakurai participated in Pro Wrestling Noah's recent event, Wrestle Magic. Rossy Ogawa was asked if there was any chance that if he would ever that Marigold will be invited to come back to Noah, and this is what he said: "If there is a request, we will be back." But they asked him about the first match in this event, and this is what he said: "I think this first match in a while for everyone, but it was good. There was some booing at the end too, and I think it was good showcase for us while we're away from home." Now, some of you may question why would people boo at them, especially when Julie is involved. Well, there's a reason why. In the Japanese wrestling scene, some promotions don't, especially the fans, don't like invaders. That's always been very common. So, yeah. So now, speaking of Marigold, let's talk about some updates coming from them. As you know, their upcoming event in Corkin Hall on May 20th has been announced, their card, and this is the matches that they announced. We have Nanane Takahashi, Passion, taking on Victoria Yuzuki. And then we got Miku Ano taking on Nao Ishikawa. Then we have Mirai versus Chiaki. That's going to be a very interesting matchup. Then we have a tag match. We have Natsumi Shozuki and Misa Matsui versus Amari Koiki and Chikakoto. Then we have Mai Sakurai and Zeta Steel versus Nagisa Nozaki and Mila Grace. And then finally, our main event, Julia, she teams up with Utami Ayashida to take on Suri and Bozilla. So that's the entirety of the card for Marigold on the 20th of May. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully I get a chance to see it, but if not, hopefully there's another opportunity. But for now, I think this is what we have for all the news updates. So I believe it's time to call it a day. Okay, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Now, coming up, as you know, I just found out that I can still see the much later for May 4th of Stardom in Kumamoto, which is the hometown of Yuna Mizumori. She faces her against her own teammate Sarunu. I'm thinking about checking that out. I still haven't seen TNA's Under Siege. That is part of my list, and I'm way behind on the Choco Pro events. I can get that done fast, but however, first things first, I will be releasing the upcoming DWZ discussion video where we talk about Starlight Kid. Now, what's next for her now that she is no longer with Oedo Tai? Is there a consideration she would join Cosmic Angels or possibly go back with Stars? We will see. I'll talk the whole shebang about that. I'm looking forward to that one. But as of right now, I'll leave things how it is at this moment. But as for right now, I will say that I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.